Hello everyone, and welcome to another insightful discussion. If you enjoy exploring topics related to the Bible, theology, and prophecy, you're in the right place. Today, we'll dive deep into a fascinating and thought-provoking subject, the prophecy of the end times. Are we truly living in the final days of history? What does the Bible say about the signs of the end? And how do historical events and modern developments align with biblical prophecy? Before we begin, make sure to like this video and subscribe if you haven't already. Your support helps spread this important message. Also, don't forget to share this video with your friends and family. This is a topic that concerns all of us. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment below with your opinions, doubts, or questions about the end times prophecy. Do you think we are witnessing signs of the end? Let's discuss it together. Now, let's get started. Are we living in the end times? The question of whether we are currently experiencing the end times is one that has been raised countless times throughout history. Many individuals, religious leaders, and even entire civilizations have declared that the world was on the brink of its final moments, yet time has continued. This naturally leads to skepticism. How can we be sure that this time is different? Historically, numerous people have claimed that their generation was witnessing the end. For example, during the turn of the first millennium, the Vikings believed that the world would come to an end based on their own interpretations of time and destiny. Similarly, various apocalyptic warnings have appeared throughout history, with people seeing signs of collapse in political, social, and moral crises. A common criticism of such predictions is that they have always proven to be incorrect. The world has seen many catastrophic events, wars, and moral declines, yet it has persisted. Skeptics argue that humanity has a tendency to see its own era as the worst in history, often comparing their time to previous golden ages that may never have actually existed. However, this does not mean that the concept of an approaching end should be dismissed entirely. The Bible itself speaks of the last days and provides signs to watch for. So, if people throughout history have believed they were living in the final days, what makes today any different? What unique elements exist in our time that were not present in past eras? These are the questions we must explore. In the following sections, we will examine historical perspectives, biblical prophecies, and modern global events to understand whether the signs of the end times are truly unfolding before us. Historical perspectives on societal decay. Throughout history, civilizations have often perceived their own era as one of great moral decline, believing that society was deteriorating beyond repair. This sentiment is not unique to modern times. It has been echoed by philosophers, historians, and writers from different periods. The idea that humanity is constantly moving towards corruption and collapse has been a recurring theme for millennia. One example comes from ancient Viking beliefs, which suggested that the end of the world was imminent at the turn of the millennium. While these interpretations may have been exaggerated or distorted over time, they reflect a common human tendency to view the present as worse than the past. Ancient Egyptian and Greek writings also reflect concerns about moral decay. There is an apocryphal story of an Egyptian scribe, dating back 2,000 years before Christ, who lamented the corruption of youth, the lack of peace, and the dishonesty of leaders. Similarly, some falsely attributed a text to Socrates, claiming that he too complained about the decline of youth and societal values. However, no such writings exist in Socratic records. Despite the inaccuracy of these specific examples, many real historical figures expressed similar concerns. Roman historian Ammianus Marcellinus criticized the moral downfall of the Roman Senate and society. Cicero wrote letters warning of the disintegration of the Roman Republic due to the reckless actions of young politicians. Hesiod, an ancient Greek poet, classified history into different ages, referring to his own time as the Iron Age, a period of relentless struggle, injustice, and loss of moral virtue. Other Roman writers, such as Titus Livius, Livy, and Ovid, also observed societal corruption in their time. Livy noted that society could neither endure its own diseases nor the supposed cures. Ovid spoke of an overwhelming love for material wealth, indicating a rise in materialism and selfishness. Beyond moral decay, even ecological and economic crises have been recorded throughout history. The collapse of the Assyrian and Egyptian empires was linked to prolonged droughts. Economic turmoil, labor strikes, and institutional instability were also present in ancient civilizations, much like they are today. These historical perspectives show that concerns about moral and societal decline are not new. While past generations believed they were witnessing the worst era of humanity, civilization continued. The question remains, is our time any different? Do we have evidence that today's world is uniquely positioned at the brink of the end times? Apocalyptic predictions throughout history. The The belief that the world is nearing its end is not exclusive to our era. Throughout history, various religious and philosophical figures have made apocalyptic predictions, convinced that their time was witnessing the final days. Many of these predictions were based on interpretations of political instability, social decay, and natural disasters, events that seem to confirm the fulfillment of divine or prophetic warnings. One of the earliest examples comes from the 1st century, when several individuals, including Simon Bar Joarah and Judas of Galilee, claimed that the end was imminent. These messianic figures gathered followers, believing they were fulfilling divine prophecy. The historian Flavius Josephus documented how such movements stirred unrest and false expectations about the world's end. Moving into the Middle Ages, apocalyptic expectations intensified. Joachim de Fiori, an Italian theologian from the 13th century, predicted that Christ's reign on earth would begin between 1200 and 1260. After his death, his followers revised the date to 1290, but as with previous predictions, nothing came to pass. Even artists were involved in end-time speculations. The renowned Renaissance painter Sandro Botticelli believed that Jesus would return by 1504. His anticipation of the apocalypse reflected the widespread fear and religious fervor of the time. By the 16th century, apocalyptic movements continued to emerge. Melchior Hoffman, an Anabaptist preacher, predicted that only 144,000 people from his generation would be saved and that Jesus would return in 1533. According to his vision, these chosen individuals would emerge from Strasbourg, while the rest of humanity would be consumed by fire. In the 19th century, the Millerite movement, led by William Miller, played a crucial role in shaping apocalyptic expectations. Based on biblical calculations, Miller initially predicted that Jesus would return in 1843, then revised the date to 1844 after the first prediction failed. When the second date also passed without fulfillment, it became known as the Great Disappointment. This event later influenced the formation of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, which, while continuing to emphasize Christ's return, chose not to set specific dates for the event. A recurring theme in these historical predictions is that they were often based on observable crises, wars, moral decay, political corruption, and natural disasters, which were interpreted as signs of the end. However, each of these predictions ultimately failed. Given this history of unfulfilled prophecies, one might ask, how can we be sure that today's predictions about the end times are different? What unique elements exist in our era that did not exist in previous centuries? To answer this, we must turn to biblical prophecy and examine whether the signs described in Scripture are truly manifesting in the world today. Biblical analysis of the end times. When discussing the end times, many turn to the Bible as the primary source of prophecy. Among the most referenced passages is Matthew 24, often called the Little Apocalypse of the Gospels. In this chapter, Jesus speaks of various signs that will precede his return, including wars, earthquakes, famines, and social unrest. However, an important detail stands out. Jesus warns that these events alone are not definitive signs of the end. Warnings against deception. One of Jesus' first warnings is about deception. He tells his disciples in Matthew 24 verses 4-5, "Watch out that no one deceives you. For many will come in my name, claiming, 'I am the Messiah,' and will deceive many." Throughout history, many individuals have falsely claimed to be the Christ or have predicted the world's end, misleading countless people. Jesus' statement serves as a reminder that not every catastrophic event or charismatic leader is a true sign of the final days. The signs of the times. In Matthew 24, Jesus describes a series of events that will unfold in the world, including wars and rumors of wars, nations rising against nations, famines and earthquakes in various places. However, after listing these, Jesus adds an important clarification. Such things must happen, but the end is still to come. Matthew 24 verse 6. This means that while these events may intensify, they are only the beginning of birth pains, not the definitive proof that the world is ending. The true sign of the end. While wars, natural disasters, and political instability have always existed, Jesus identifies a specific event that will mark the final days. In Matthew 24 verse 14, he declares, "And this gospel of the kingdom will be preached in the whole world as a testimony to all nations, and then the end will come." This verse shifts the focus away from catastrophes and toward a global spiritual event, the universal spread of the gospel. The true indicator of the end times is not simply war or famine, but the moment when the message of Christ reaches every nation, tribe, and people. A universal perspective. Another crucial detail in Matthew 24 verse 30 is that Christ's return will be a global event. Then will appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and all the peoples of the earth will mourn when they see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven, with power and great glory. This passage emphasizes that everyone on earth will witness his return. It will not be a secret event, but a worldwide revelation that no one can ignore. Conclusion: understanding the end times through Scripture. From this biblical analysis, we can conclude 3 key points. Wars, disasters, and crises are not absolute indicators of the end. They have always existed and will continue. The true sign of the end times is the global preaching of the gospel. Only when this mission is complete will the final moment arrive. Christ's return will be a worldwide event, witnessed by all nations and peoples. This biblical foundation helps us distinguish between fear-driven speculation and genuine prophetic fulfillment. In the next section, we will explore how today's technological advancements and globalization may be accelerating the conditions for this prophecy to be fulfilled. Conclusion: as we reach this point in our study, we can see that the belief in the end times is not a new phenomenon. History has shown that every generation has looked at the world around them and seen signs of its collapse, whether through political instability, moral decay, or natural disasters. From the ancient philosophers who lamented the downfall of their societies to the medieval theologians who predicted Christ's return, humanity has always wrestled with the idea that their time might be the final one. However, what makes our time different? Are we truly witnessing something unique that no other generation has experienced? Through our analysis of biblical prophecy in Matthew 24, we have discovered that Jesus did not point to wars, famines, or natural disasters as the ultimate sign of the end. Instead, he emphasized that the gospel must be preached to the entire world before the final moments arrive. This means that, while historical and modern crises may seem alarming, they are only the beginning of birth pains, not the definitive proof that the end has come. In the next part of our discussion, we will explore how modern global events, the rise of a one-world system, digital control, and economic restrictions, may be setting the stage for the fulfillment of Revelation's prophecies. Are we closer to the final world system than ever before? Could the rise of technology, artificial intelligence, and surveillance be shaping the framework of the Antichrist's rule? Stay tuned as we continue this journey, uncovering the deeper meaning behind the prophetic signs of our time.